My search history is now criminal as I learned to write a compelling narrative for BubbleGoBoom, the bullet hell inspired by eugenics and genophobia. Right now you're just some nameless kid with a gun, trapped in a dungeon shooting oversized slime cubes with bubbles. And you're not some special kid either, you're just a regular kid dumped in a monster-infested wasteland by an inspector whose job questions the squeaky clean narrative of the clean kingdom you call home. That will prompt a lot of questions, and for good reason. Let's answer some of them. So, who are you? Meet Tom. Tom, like most kids, dreams of being the main hero of his own grandiose story. The difference between Tom and other kids are the extreme lengths that Tom will go to in order to make that happen, be it throwing his friends under the bus for some extra recognition, or stealing a gun for the sake of the plot. He must, at every chance possible, choose the most reckless and stupid choice that he can, so that everybody else has lots of material to work with when writing his heroic ballad. You in Tom's shoes have one mission only: to shoot anything nasty looking on sight. That, and exact revenge on that nasty inspector. Throughout the many levels, you'll need to punch, shoot, and whack your way through the swarms of enemies in order to write this crazy story for Tom. Sit back and enjoy as you return from your heroic ballads to watch it all crumble for the selfish gain of you in a game which realistically should just be like Doom. Don't think, don't talk, just take this shotgun and shoot anything on sight. Where did all of this come from? How does one write a game which takes hold of a player and refuses to let them go? Do all games even need a story? Does mine? I haven't written a story since 2021, back when I had to. However, during the initial development of BubbleGoBoom, in the midst of a game jam, we scrambled together to create a basic plot line which we wanted to expand on. Even the basics we had back then were enough to blow the competition out of the water. Like, come on. Surely you'd want to see why a group of teenagers in the corner were passionately ranting about ethnic cleansing, dropping the soap, and baby oil when the theme was bubbles. So, how do we go from here? What does the story even need? You gotta start by creating interesting characters which aren't 100% good or 100% evil, because that just makes them annoying, predictable, and unrelatable. Especially in a world like this where everyone's a mixture of the two. Take Tom for instance. Tom isn't a good kid. He's selfish, he's reckless, and would absolutely throw his friends under the bus for recognition and glory. But that's what makes him interesting, because when he discovers he'll have to choose between his hero fantasy and doing the right thing for once. Even the villains can't be evil just for the sake of being evil, because nobody's on that timing, even the worst. I'm going to use this filthy messed up world to force Tom, and the villain, to grow up and face the consequences of their selfishness. Millions are dead. Tom's parents might even be dead. Tom will find out things which should have stayed hidden, and in the midst of all of this, Tom's gonna be forced to change. On the flip side, I've got to constantly fight the temptation to make the plot too long or overly complex. After all, we're in a digital age where attention spans are dropping, and dropping fast. If the plot, and thus the game time required to discover the whole story, is too long, then it's all just a waste of time. If there's too much plot in the game which realistically just needs to be kill until killed, it'll all be forgotten during the action anyways, and that's no good. In simpler terms, you need a world big enough for the plot to ground itself. So, how do I build a world? For starters, a big world doesn't need to be a large world. It just needs to have some culture or history which existed before you, as the player, came to be. The simplest way to achieve this is by answering the 6 following questions. Where? Where is your story taking place? Is it on Earth? If so, what period of history? This story will center in Zurich, Switzerland, on an Earth very much like our own, however, it's going to be set in 2068. How? How was this world, continent, city, space station, etc. formed? Horrible dirty monsters have been rampaging since 2020 till about 2022, causing the few who remain to band together and form colonies. As a result, the largest colony in the area, namely the Clean Kingdom, occupies the entirety of modern-day Switzerland. What's the main source of conflict and tension in this place? Tom finds himself stuck in the territory outside of the Clean Kingdom, known to the residents as the Dirt Kingdom. He's stuck there on his own and he needs to do what it takes to survive and make his way back home, eliminating all of the horrid creatures who managed to get in his way. There's an underlying conflict beneath all of this, which I can't spoil just yet, but what I can say is that This is much bigger than just Tom and his desire to be the greatest hero ever. Who are the primary actors in this conflict? Firstly, there's Tom, Mr. I want to be a hero. Secondly, we've got the Inspector, the one Tom holds responsible for getting him lost in the Dirt Kingdom to begin with. And lastly, we've got King Ole, a highly esteemed figure responsible for pioneering the protection of the entire country during the initial attack in 2020. He's now become the established ruler of this colony, the Clean Kingdom. Why? Why are they in conflict with one another? Both Tom and the Inspector are stuck in the Dirt Kingdom, both blaming the other for this. As such, Tom, during his fight back home, also hunts for the Inspector, waiting for that chance to exact revenge. The Inspector? He just dumps Tom in one of the abandoned dungeons, out in the territory where it's been rumoured that the worst monsters live. That should sort him out. When is the conflict happening? The initial meeting / beef with Tom and the Inspector will be initiated in 2068, and the rest of the story will unfold over the next 5 years. Once these 6 questions are answered, if I understand everything right, the final details of the story should sort themselves out. But the annoying thing is that this isn't a book, it's a game. I can't just tell you this information straight, because if you wanted to read lots of lore, you'd pick up a book. If you wanted to watch lots of cutscenes, you'd just watch a film. Why then bother trying to tell stories in games? How can I make a story that the player can't break out of by being quirky or touching things which shouldn't be touched yet? How can I force a player to move through a narrative without seeming pushy? You gotta be subtle and sneaky. As with all good games, you've gotta show and not tell.
In games, the most visual way to show is to use the environment. What is the world telling you about its history? What happened here?
That's for you to figure out. If done right, Loki, that's DJ's job as the sole artist. Ignore the fact that I have to explain to him what exactly is going on in order for him to draw the right things. Then I've told half the lore without saying anything. However, I've already been using another method of showing you what's about to go down without telling you. Mechanics. What you can do in a game is determined by what the world will let you. And the world will let you do only what the story permits. Every game will give you the tools to overcome whatever challenges it throws at you, even if it really doesn't seem like much. In BubbleGoBoom, you've got weapons, but not just any kind of weapons. Think for a second about what kind of themes tie all of these weapons together, and what kind of theme ties all of these enemies together. And just by that alone, you've unpacked some more lore without me having to tell you explicitly. But this only tells half the story. I can't just dump you into a foreign world and give you no explanation for anything either. You'd probably wander around confused until you eventually gave up. How would you know that Tom and the Inspector even have beef to begin with? It's not like it's going to be written all over the dungeon walls or something. So, I'd still need a cutscene manager to tell you these fundamental specific parts of the story which the world isn't obligated to tell you. I can't lie, I haven't even started it yet, and I think realistically that'll probably be my big issue to fix after I confirm that the same system actually works. But when you get the balance of cutscenes and world-driven storytelling just right, the player is now able to properly immerse themselves in the story without being lectured or left to fend for themselves. And then, and only then, have you properly done your job right as a world builder. I've hidden half the plot to my game in this screenshot over here. If you've got what it takes to write a better story than me, then it should be pretty obvious what I'm trying to do here. The first of you to figure out what's happening in the game will get the chance to rewrite the plot and a channel shoutout because hey, I trust you. Do you think you've got what it takes? I'd love to hear your guesses in the comments down below, but I'm gonna crash out if I find out that one of you actually gets it. And if you've ever written a story of your own, tell me, what's the worst your search history has ever looked like? I just need to know that mine isn't the worst.